Welcome in, everybody, to the second episode of the Respawn podcast. My name is Joey Olberding.
My name is Colin Rhoads.
And I'm Tina Sherman.
And today we have a very special guest. We do have Tina Sherman. And you are captain of the Overwatch team, correct?
I'm the manager, yes.
Manager. All right, so what's the activity like for somebody? Brand new game just came out, Overwatch 2. Is it hectic? How do you manage something like that?
It's very hectic, especially with the new ranking system, trying to find scrims at a rank that you used to play at when the ranking system was entirely different is very difficult.
How does the crossover work? Like, is everyone from Overwatch 1? Like, if you were a master Overwatch 1 player, are you still a master Overwatch 2 player?
Probably not. You're probably a good bit lower than that. We've seen some masters player placing like plat or even some of them placing silver.
Oh, really?
Like, or gold. It's really shocking for some players.
Are they like actually like worse, I guess, or is it just the way that the ranks work?
I wouldn't say that they're actually worse, except in the sense that their hero could potentially have been nerfed.
Oh.
And so, just by nature of the hero they're playing, they're going to be quote-unquote worse of a player in Overwatch 2.
Yeah, I also hear about Overwatch 2 that it's a lot faster than Overwatch 1.
It's very fast. I wanted to talk about that. Everything's cleaner, it's sharper, specifically on control where there's a point you're trying to flip back and forth and have like capture that point. In Overwatch 1, there might be 3 to 4 fights by the time you reach 100%. In Overwatch 2, there's maybe 6 to 7 fights before you've finished the round. So it's just everything's a lot quicker and sharper and cleaner.
Would you say that allows for more skill expression?
I would say it does for some players that have the skill to show it.
Yeah.
If you're
good, it will show more.
If you're bad,
it shows more.
Oh boy.
Because in Overwatch 1, there was just a lot more leeway with the abilities and the cooldowns that could just kind of catch you if you weren't really good individually. Like they just kind of, you made a mistake. It's okay. I can get you out. It's okay. I got you covered. But in Overwatch 2, everything's just shorter cooldown, shorter usage. There's not as much leeway.
So did our Mizzou Esports Overwatch team get a lot better or a lot worse?
I think we did a good job of staying about the same.
Okay.
Hopefully we can get even better, but I'm happy we stayed the same. Honestly.
So Overwatch 2, a lot faster of a game. A lot, it's a different in terms of skill expression, and a lot of the characters have been sort of changed around a little. But there seems to be this idea circling around through social media platforms that really the games are very, very similar. Would you say that's true, or would you say it's false, or somewhere in between?
I think it's somewhere in between. What we saw with the beta was that I would say that they were a little too similar. But once the full game released, I think it's different enough that it's fun, it's fresh, it's something new, and something to get excited about.
It's definitely something to be excited about. Would you say that is, I don't know how to say this, would you say that that's kind of all it is in a way? Like it is new, it is fresh, but that's kind of all it is. And then it'll kind of just go back to the mainstream. Because right now everyone's playing Overwatch 2.
Mm.
It's big news. But do you think in like a month or 2 months or whatever, do you think that it will kind of like just steady out again and then it'll kind of just be like it never happened and it's just still Overwatch?
I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If I had to guess. It wasn't different enough to get a whole new player base or something. The people that were there in Overwatch 1 will stay and those who weren't will leave.
Yeah.
They'll find something else.
Because that's honestly what happened with Overwatch 1 was that it was this new really cool thing. It was a fresh experience. And then it didn't really take a month. Overwatch 1 stayed popular, really popular for a while.
It did for a good couple of years.
Yeah. But then it kind of just like steadies itself out. Why do you think that happens with Overwatch and not other games? Well, it does happen with other games, but you know.
Yeah, I honestly, outside of Overwatch, I don't really play other video games other than maybe Minecraft. But Minecraft is kind of a good example of a game that has continued to rise in popularity, even though they're not really doing a ton to change the game fundamentally. Like it's still the same game.
Yeah.
So just to compare that game to Overwatch, it's hard. But I think Minecraft has a bit of nostalgia, of course. Overwatch is like trying to pull from Halo and Call of Duty and make something new, but it's already being covered by every other FPS shooter on the market right now.
Yeah, I think something that Minecraft has that's unique to Minecraft is that when Minecraft came out in 2010, I think it was a wholly unique game.
It was.
Nobody had ever seen anything like Minecraft before, and really to this day, there are a lot of Minecraft clones out there, but there's really nothing quite like Minecraft. I think the thing that Overwatch doesn't have is, even though it was sort of like the first really big like hero shooter, if you don't count TF2, I guess, Team Fortress 2, not Titanfall 2.
Don't worry, Joey. No one thought you were talking about Titanfall 2.
Well, there's some Titanfall freaks out there, so it's okay. But yeah, so I think it came out, it was really big, but unfortunately, I think there became so many hero shooters that came out after, and so many like, you know, competitive shooters that were out beforehand. Once like Blizzard started, I don't know, maybe alienating their fan base a little, or putting in patches that weren't really patches or stuff like that, I think, you know, a lot of players maybe just kind of moved on. But the nice thing is, now that Overwatch 2 is out, a lot of those players are coming back, and maybe what with the faster gameplay, maybe the new shine of a brand new game, what have you, people are starting to get back into Overwatch. And while I do agree that it'll definitely like simmer down in terms of like the hype surrounding it, I do think that I wasn't originally sold on the concept of Overwatch 2 even a little. I thought, you know, what's the point? But I guess I really underestimated how much hype any new game or any new iteration for a series like Overwatch, if you can even call it a series, would help to reinvigorate a fan base. So I just found that interesting.
I would say, yeah, for sure. I think Overwatch 2 brought Overwatch into the new gaming era.
Mm-hmm.
It was just stuck in the past for way too long.
Overwatch 1 was?
Overwatch 1 is too slow. It wasn't anything like what everyone was wanting to play right now. Yeah. If you look at like Fortnite and Valorant, which are two other really popular first-person shooter games, they're all really fast. It's a lot of individual skill level. You got to pop off on your own right. You have a team, but like it's up to you, you know. Yeah. And Overwatch is just like Overwatch 1, at least. It didn't have enough focus on that.
Yeah, I think that is the really unique thing about shooter games, is that that's really what people want to, like, especially with an esport. It's a team game at the end of the day, but however, people can pop off and carry the game, and that is something that is super fun to watch. That's really I think what makes a lot of esports really good is that you know that like certain players can get hot and just take over an entire tournament, which is really, really fun to watch, you know.
Yeah. If you're looking at some of like the metas, I don't know if we want to like get into a little bit of...
Oh, we can get way into it.
Okay, we can get way into it. Overwatch 2, you're seeing a lot more heroes that can flank, or that can kind of go off and do their own thing, a little bit more self-sufficient. People who maybe have like a kind of one-hit KO type of deal, where you do a little combo and you can kill a squishy.
Like Roadhog.
Like Roadhog, but not Roadhog. Yeah, because he's bad in Overwatch 2.
Dude, I've been playing Roadhog, man. My Roadhog is clean.
I'll have to see it to believe it.
Do people play Roadhog, or like, I don't know, I guess, what tanks do they play?
Right now, Zarya is like number one tank. I mean, she's super important.
Well, so
with she has 2 bubbles now, and so that's that's game changing.
Yeah, but there's no like bans or like pick select, I guess, in pro. So can you just play the same exact like composition just over and over and over and over again, or do certain like comps counter other comps, or is there anything like that?
Yeah, so certain comps will counter other comps. In Overwatch 2, we kind of have to like completely rethink the names of comps. And they're all being called different things right now because everyone's just throwing stuff at the wall to see if it sticks. I've heard like Ghost Dive or Dirty Bubble is like so people are just trying to figure out what sticks right now. But lots of new wacky compositions where it's like kind of half dive. Is Brawl dead? Or can we do spam anymore? What even is that? If you have 5 heroes, like, can you stay in one spot? You got to be hyper mobile It's just like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out
What even is is exactly what's going through me and Joey's mind right now. I think I have no idea what any of the words you just said.
Sorry, I can explain more. Do you want me to?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Like, what does spam mean?
Okay, so spam is the concept where your team is kind of going to pick a spot and you're going to bunker down
And you're gonna spam
and
it.
you're going to spam them until you get a pick, you use up their resources, their shields are low, their heals are low, and then you can maybe move in a little bit more and then kind of push them
And
out.
then is there? I guess there's a composition that's like counter spam.
Yeah, and so there's a counter for every composition.
Okay.
It's just whether or not your team is good enough to play the counter.
Yeah. So you said that people play just one character. Like or like that character is nerfed, when it comes to Overwatch 2 and like they're a worse player.
Yeah.
Is that popular, I guess, or is that common for someone to just one trick pony?
I wouldn't say it's common. And if you want to become like a professional in esports, I can only really talk for Overwatch. I'm not sure if like other games are like this.
No, they
You
are.
kind of need to have a little bit of a hero pool, like 4 to 5 heroes that you're pretty darn good at. And you can kind of pop off on.
Yeah, I think that's true over all of the games. Like, I mean, even in CSGO, like, you have an Opper, but you still need to know how to use an AK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in League, it's very prevalent. Like, people, like, the bigger your pool, the more champions you can play, the better the player you are. That's just the reality of it.
The more options, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just way easier to be on a team. You can just fit any role, or you can have your team fit your role, even in like Smash Bros, right? It's like if you're just a Minecraft Steve one trick, like someone's gonna come up with a counter for it.
Yeah,
exactly. If you just play a heavy, then eventually you're gonna get the box is gonna come in and just run everywhere, and you're not gonna be able to do anything. Or a Steve's gonna camp you in mine for 10 seconds or something like that. So yeah, I mean, the more options you have, the better. I mean, the better opportunity you have to be a better player. Just because you play a bunch of characters doesn't necessarily mean you're all of a sudden a god at the game. But, it's cool.
It's kind of like how in business they talk about like diversifying your portfolio, where the more you kind of uniquely diverse that you are and you can pop off on many heroes, the more a team is going to want you.
Overwatch 2 is just like business class.
So you were mentioning earlier about how something new with Overwatch 2 is that it gives not champions. What do you call
Heroes.
them? Heroes. Sorry, I got league brain.
So let's just call them characters.
Yeah,
they're all characters.
The
They're all
people you
characters.
play as in the video game.
The people.
Well, not always people. There are hamsters as well. And anyways, so you were talking about how these characters can branch off a lot more and sort of do their own thing. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's to create more of like an environment where it's less team based and more player based, or why do you think they did that for Overwatch 2?
I think they wanted to make the game quicker, because if someone is going off and doing their own thing and you're already down one player, because we went from 6 people on a team to 5 people on a team in Overwatch 2, and you're already down 1 or 2 players who are going on a flank, if those 1 or 2 players on the flank don't get value, you lose the fight. If they don't kill someone in the back line, you lose.
Yeah, everything means more.
It means
right?
more. Every action you take is just like amplified.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic change.
Yeah.
However, I mean, I don't know. I hate saying the word change, because it is, that is, like I went, I was hanging out with my friends last night, and like 2 of them went up to me and were like, have you played Overwatch 2 yet? And I was like, yeah, it's super fun, whatever. And they were like, it sucks. It's the same game, And I mean, they're just like normie, people. But
I feel like if you played it in quick play, if you're a quick play warrior, it probably does feel pretty similar.
Mhm.
And I think quick play has gotten exponentially more frustrating in Overwatch 2 because every action you take has way more impact. So if you're playing with randos, it's just like, it's even worse. It's hard to get anything done.
It also makes sense from the perspective that if you're a person who hasn't played Overwatch in, let's say, 2 years, and you've been playing Valorant or CSGO or whatever, and then you go to Overwatch 2 seeing like, I wonder how it'll be different. And it's basically, it's in a way just more Overwatch, but in a slightly faster manner. If you haven't played the game in 2 years, you might not pick up on the intricacies of what's changed. So
you might just see I'm losing and I don't know why. I don't understand like what I'm
Yeah.
dying all the time on the respawn screen 90% of the game.
You might say they only added 3 new champions, and the UI looks really similar, and the maps are all similar or the same. And you might say this is the same game, when in reality, as we touched on, it really isn't.
It's really not. It's pretty different, but I've heard from some of my friends that just play it casually, and they've talked about some frustrations with like, I don't get what was the point of that. It just feels worse now.
Well, I remember when Overwatch 2 first got announced. I remember first of all that it had been leaked for a few months prior, and I remember people were like, what's it going to be? Surely it won't just be the same game again. And then they came out with the first trailer, I believe, and everybody was like, it's the same game, blah, 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 as it goes. And I remember thinking, as somebody who never played Overwatch 1, and as somebody who really doesn't have all that much interest in Overwatch, I watched it when it came out and was like kind of interested, but I sort of just fell out, sort of like the player base did, I suppose, to an extent. And I remember thinking, why would Blizzard possibly do this? But it makes sense to me now. I mean, as I touched on earlier, I mean, it really did. I mean, we're having this conversation, and it's like, there really is a brand new interest in the game. And I think the main thing is Blizzard, who has not been great at doing good things as a company. It's really important that they make this one work, that they actually do good with this one. Because if they can, I mean, you see Valorant, everybody loves Valorant. People, think that the changes they make are great, at least about as great as you can for changing such a huge game like that. If Blizzard can do even a fraction of that, I honestly think that Overwatch 2 won't fall off as hard as me and everybody else are expecting it to.
If you look at the second iteration of really any popular game, I can't think of one where you could say, oh, it's an entirely new game. It's crazy. It's like, it's not even the same thing anymore. Nobody wants that. If you fell in love with the first game, you fell in love with it for a reason. And the second game, you're going to want to play it because you want more content like the first one, but maybe just a little cleaned up, a little sharper, fulfilling some of the needs and wants that people are talking about. But you want to be playing the same game, or else why would you have gotten into it in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the whole argument of Overwatch 2 isn't anything different is so stupid to me, because it's like nobody's playing Splatoon 2 and is like, ugh, this is just like Splatoon 1.
I know, it's like that's kind of the point. It's like
people complain about Call of Duty, but they won't complain that it's still a shooter. They'll complain that, it's bad and it doesn't work. It's really hypocritical. Because if they did that for any other game, people would not complain. If they made a Team Fortress 3 or a Titanfall 3, people would be like, if they made any major changes, they would be like, why'd they make any major changes? I'm gonna yell and scream and be angry on the internet. Then they would.
I'm gonna type in all caps.
Yes, to show how angry they really are. Press the caps lock button. So yeah, it's just stupid to me. And I think people will get over themselves in I don't know, a few weeks time, and then they'll be like, well, actually, they did make quite a few changes. But right now, people are in the idiot zone, and I just hope that they crawl their way out of it.
Yeah, I think the people that are complaining about it the most are people who had fallen out of love with Overwatch 1 months ago. And they were probably disappointed by all the delays in development updates, and you can't blame them for that.
You can't win if you're Blizzard in that situation, because if you release a buggy game that everybody's angry at, you'll get more hate than when you delay it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you announce a game I don't know, months and months prior, and you have a concrete release date, and then you keep delaying it, I mean, that's also setting yourself up for failure, because it's
I actually disagree. I don't think so. I think it should be more normalized for games to just delay their start or their release dates.
I agree, but I think the thing is with people who are getting themselves hyped for a game release.
Okay, but
why do you think that?
But people get angry about the delay because they want to play the game, and that interest is not going anywhere.
It's kind of like how any press is good press.
Yeah, I mean, well, sort of. I don't know, but the more you delay the game, the more the anticipation builds up.
That's what I'm saying.
The more people talk about it,
people get anticipate. Even if they're mad, even if they're mad, it hasn't come out yet.
Yeah,
they're still talking about that it hasn't come out yet, and that's building hype.
But if you think about it, the reason they're mad that it's being delayed is because they want to play your game so bad.
Yeah.
The more mad they are, the more they want to play your game.
So like that's not necessarily bad, but I think Overwatch kind of milked it for too long, and we're going on like year 3 of
delay,
of like failed promises and delay, and we're like, okay, I'm gonna move on. A lot of people moved on, fell out of love with Overwatch.
That was my point, really, because it's like, you know, it's one thing to, you know, delay a game, you know, delay games better than a rush game or whatever. But it's another thing to basically disappoint your fans over and over again. And a lot of fans were already disappointed by the fact that they were making an Overwatch 2. So if you're going to keep delaying it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't give like any updates on it as well, right?
Not really. No updates on it for I think a year and a half. I think Echo was the last update that they gave to Overwatch 1.
I mean, I can compare that to big games that are like on the verge of releasing that the same thing has happened to. Like, you think about the new like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild game. You know, they've had it out there for 2 years. They've shown no information, and they've basically delayed it like a year and a half past when it was supposed to come out. Like, one of the games I've been super anticipated for personally is Hollow Knight Silksong, and they had the reveal trailer for that, I think, like 2-3 years ago, and they only had the second trailer like 6 months ago, and they still don't have a release date. And it's like, people are hyped. People are like, oh, they're delaying it. That must mean it's going to be a really great product. But once again, it's just setting yourself up for disappointment, because no game is going to be perfect. Yeah, that's just unrealistic.
Well, Overwatch 2 came out, and it's like the perfect example of the servers crashed, and there's 40,000 people in queue, and it was a horrible release, in my opinion.
Did you guys see Donkey's Overwatch 2 video?
I don't think so.
It was just the whole video. Like, he does he just like game reviews kind of, but he just like plays the game. The entire video was a 5-minute video. It was just him sitting in the loading screen, just like going over like how the logo is the same and whatnot, and like
that's funny.
He goes all the way down. He said that like the game changed now. Like, the entire Overwatch 2 game is just sitting in queue, and it's like a battle royale of to be the last person to sit in the queue. And he goes all the way down to like one person in the queue. He gets in, the servers crash, and then he goes back
that happens to
100,000 people.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that's sort of interesting, is the idea of having a release for such a huge game like that like flops so hard. Like, that's another way to basically set yourself up for disappointment as a developer. Right?
I disagree, though. I don't think that it's setting yourself up for disappointment. I think that that's really just up to the developer to not disappoint. Like, any change they make, you can just say that it's setting them up for disappointment. Elden Ring got delayed, right?
Yeah.
And that game, I mean, it did not disappoint, right? People were very happy about it. And so, I don't know. I think that you could delay the game, but you just can't disappoint them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why you delay the game, so that you don't disappoint them. All the delaying the game does is it makes people like more hyped about your game, and maybe for anything a little bit more like you said, like, oh, it's going to be a super good product now.
Yeah.
Which I think is good for anything. Like, you want people to have good expectations about your game when they come in. Yeah. Because then, you know, more people will play your game, more people will talk about it. And if it is good, then they'll love it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a really hard thing to balance, truly.
It is. I think that, like, at its core, though, it just, you have to stick to your promises. Yeah. And if you delay a game, that's fine, but just make a good game.
Make a good game, or don't forget about your first game and like what got you to the situation where you can create a second game. Like, Overwatch 1 is why they made Overwatch 2, and they just ignored it for a year and a half.
Elden Ring is an interesting thing that you mentioned when it comes to game delays, because it sort of faced the same problems that I was talking about, where it was announced many years ago, it got no information, and then boom, like, they started dropping information, then it came out like 6 months later, and then it was like universal praise.
Yeah. I mean, it did get delayed. I think I just did my research. It was supposed to come out in January, and then they delayed it to February. So they just delayed it a month.
Yeah, but so it's really not. It's kind of comparable, but it's not the same thing as what I was talking about. And Overwatch 2 got delayed for how long?
I think it was around 2 or 3 years from when it announced.
Yeah.
To whenever I think maybe okay.
Like
it
the
was like
actual game?
announced. It was like announced, and they said like in a year and a half it'll be released, and then it was like another year and a half until it was like actually released.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's bad.
Yeah.
I will say,
But it was like a long time.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
What do you mean to backtrack a little bit? What do you mean that they ignored Overwatch 1? Like they just didn't update the game.
They didn't update it like at all.
For
I mean,
an actual year
they
and
did
a
some
half.
like patches a little bit, a couple patches, some like funny April Fool's Day stuff. But like we've been playing Junkenstein's Revenge for 6 years. Like
Yeah.
at every Halloween, it's the same stinking thing. Like it's nothing fun. It's nothing new. There
Yeah.
weren't new maps. There weren't new heroes, which is like what Overwatch started as. Is it's just like a new hero every couple months and a new map, and it was just like everything was just so new and fun and changing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just
stopped.
And
And
that's
it's
so
that's
weird.
another reason why a game like Valorant's really overtaken sort of the hero shooter scene, because it actually does do that. It actually does add a new hero every few months or a
Yeah.
new map. And maybe partially it's because Valorant is sort of the new hotness. You know, it's really burst on the scene the past year or so. But at the same time, I mean, I think there's something to be said about all the hype surrounding it, in the sense that, you know, as I sort of touched on earlier, it is a game that gets like a lot of love from its developers, and it really does it really tries to put as best of like a competitive game as it can while also appealing to casuals. And I feel like if anything can be said from the disastrous Overwatch 2 launch, is that Blizzard isn't quite on that same level, not right now. So
Yeah.
Blizzard devs, if you're out there and listening, which I know you are,
They are.
Oh, they are.
do a better job, please.
I hate to praise Riot Games here.
Yeah.
I know I'm a little biased. However, they do have kind of figured it out a little bit to make the game like very new and fun and changing, and at the same time balance like how casual people experience the game, you know, and still in a good way.
Mhm.
And they do that with Valorant really well. I know we had Blake on the episode 0.
Yeah,
and
rest in peace.
rest in peace. Episode 0 will come out in December.
Maybe not even that soon. I don't know.
Next December.
Yeah,
We're delaying it.
Yeah, yeah, we're delaying it. But trust me, it's a really great episode. We're not going to show you any information on it yet. You'll just have to trust us, guys. It's a really great episode. Anyways, keep going. Sorry.
That was it.
All right. Well, cool. Good talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So like Overwatch 2, it comes out, and it's essentially this big update that we've all been like sacrificing all of our updates for a year and a half to get. And
It's just a delayed patch.
It
for a year and a half.
kind of is, honestly. And
Yeah.
we get it. And I think compared to the beta, Overwatch 2 is a lot better. I hated playing support in the beta. I thought it was terrible. A lot of other people who played support on that role were like, it's terrible. It's not fun anymore. You don't do anything. But I think they balanced it out and it's fun.
What do you think the Overwatch 2 developer team was doing for a year and a half?
Struggling with lawsuits and HR problems.
Yeah.
I'm not joking.
No, I mean, like, Blizzard has a new controversy every month.
Yeah.
And it's like a big
Yeah.
controversy every time. They had a big
They had-
controversy
That is so
the
rough.
day Overwatch 2 released, and it
Yeah.
had nothing to do with the Overwatch 2 release.
They had a lot to work with. They
That's
had a lot
why
to deal with.
McCree's name has changed,
Yeah,
right?
to Cassidy.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
the hero formerly known as McCree. Yeah, it's interesting though, because when you look at Overwatch 2 compared to Overwatch 1, when it comes to like when Overwatch 1 came out, it was like the biggest thing on the planet. I remember the first like reveal trailer of Overwatch 1, where it's like some teenage kid, he's caught in the middle of this gunfire, and it's like Widowmaker's there, and then Tracer
Yeah.
saves him, and it's like, whoa, it's Overwatch. And I remember, as I play no shooters whatsoever, I am Mr. Non-shooter. I believe in peace, personally. I remember seeing that trailer, I think 2015 or 2016, and being like, oh, I'm gonna play so much of this game.
Oh, I'm gonna love it.
Because that's just how big it was. Because Blizzard at that time was on the top of the world. Hearthstone was the biggest thing out there, and then Overwatch came out, and it's like, whoa, it's a whole new like idea for a game.
I mean, wasn't there controversy around Hearthstone already though? Like way back in the day. I don't remember exactly what happened, but there was the one controversy with the Hearthstone world champion. They had to take his money back.
Yeah. There was something about
That was a while ago. Like,
yeah, that was a
definitely-
long time. Look, Blizzard's had so many controversies; it's hard to sort through them all.
I don't know if they've ever
There's
been
a
on top of
lot.
the world. I don't know.
There's a
No,
lot.
I mean that was an exaggeration, but it was. it was a big game, and people loved Blizzard at that time. People
sure.
did love Blizzard, and then Overwatch came out, and then everybody loved Blizzard again. It was like, I love you, and then something changed, and I don't know what changed. I don't know if there was like a tipping point, Tina.
Do you know what changed, Tina?
To what? From what to what?
To Blizzard, like really, to Overwatch 1 not getting the support anymore, and people really going back and saying Blizzard sucks as a company, even beyond all the stuff that has nothing to do with Overwatch. Was there just a change in Overwatch 1? Like one particular patch or one particular hero? Or
I don't think it wasn't a change that was implemented that got people to not want to play. It was that there were not changes.
Yeah.
At all.
Could you feel the game die?
This kind of goes into how I got into Overwatch. I started playing in 2020. So I was really late to the Overwatch
really
scene. I didn't really play that many video games before that, like some Call of Duty and Halo when I was a kid, but not anything competitive. Yeah, so when I joined, it was dead, essentially. To anyone who had been playing since 2016, it was dead.
Why did you join?
I joined because of COVID.
Oh, because did your friends play though? Like,
so in high school, I had some friends who played, and then whenever COVID started, they were like, "Hey, we should just," because we used to just play Minecraft. They're like, "Let's play Overwatch."
That is
and,
so weird.
Do something else.
Like, no one had played. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, COVID's here. Time to play Overwatch.
Well, I'd never
no
heard,
one was playing.
I had never heard of Overwatch ever, and then I had a friend that was just like, "Hey, you can use my account to see if you like it," because it was like $60. So I needed to see if I liked it before I shell out $60.
Oh my gosh, I forgot it costed money.
Yeah, it cost a lot of money.
I totally forgot.
And Overwatch 2 is free, right?
Thank God it's free. No one. I'm sorry, but I don't think anyone would buy it.
No, I don't think they would. No,
I don't think so.
No,
for $60.
And you really I haven't bought the battle pass, and I don't feel any need to buy it.
Okay, that's
cool.
good.
It's cool if you want to get it, but I don't really care.
Is it just like $10?
It's just I'm not sure how much it is, honestly. I'd never looked into buying it.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Good on you.
I just didn't care. It's like skins and cosmetics.
Yeah, I bought the Fortnite battle pass a couple times.
Yeah,
that was
the thing
fun.
about the Fortnite one is like it does what is it called, like collaborations with Star Wars or like
you mean they're a sellout?
Yeah.
But
it's like shoot, I want to play as Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
As Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
I mean, it feels really good until you drop in tiny towers and Doctor Strange is just ready to murder you there.
But like that's
like,
cool.
What is happening to me?
That's cool too. It's like Dark Strange and
Sasuke.
Spider-Man, and then like some anime heroes. It's just like it's just fun.
Yeah, it's silly.
It's silly and fun and wacky. I love Fortnite. That's cool.
You could play in a squad with Dwayne the Rock Johnson, Rick from Rick and Morty, and Goku. That's awesome.
It's like who wouldn't?
That's
want
a
to do
squad
that?
right there.
I'd pay
That
for
is
that.
a squad right there.
I mean, why play multiverses if you can just
Exactly.
play Fortnite?
But yeah. So I got into it kind of late. Just my friends were wanting something to do since we couldn't meet up in
Thank God
person.
for COVID.
And then I started playing for my high school's team that same year.
Wait, how are you a junior?
I was a junior.
No, you were a junior right now.
I'm a sophomore.
Oh, you were a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you had your high school had an Overwatch team.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have all esports teams for the games?
I think we did. I know we had Rocket League. I actually don't know if we had Valorant at the time. We were still pretty small.
Did Valorant exist?
I don't know. 2020. Well, 2020 surely.
I don't think they existed.
They don't think they existed?
No.
When did Valorant come out?
I was actually going to mention it. It came out in June of 2020. So you got in probably a few months before Valorant actually came out.
Oh yeah.
But
probably.
while it was getting hyped up, so
yeah, probably.
It's interesting how a few months makes the difference. Because if you started getting into I guess a hero shooter 2 months later,
It probably would have been Valorant.
yeah, and now just imagine where you would be in life. You might be the manager of the Valorant team. Who knows?
Yeah, we saw that eye roll.
Yeah, you got into Overwatch right at 2020, so it must have been an interesting experience because by that point, Overwatch 2 had already been sort of announced, right?
Yeah. I was unaware that Overwatch 2 had been announced at that time.
Mm-hmm.
There was just so much to learn about the game that
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention to Overwatch League or announcements or.
Did you? I mean, obviously you played Overwatch and then you kept playing it, right?
Mhm.
So did you instantly fall in love with the game?
I really liked it. I thought it was a fun game. I thought all the heroes were really cool.
Mhm.
I liked
Yeah.
the team aspect of it. I liked that playing on an esports team, you got to make real friends and not just like play with a bunch of randos all the time.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Funny thing is, I actually never met anyone in person on my high school team because of COVID.
On your high school team?
On my high school team, because our school stopped meeting in like March 2020. And
Your
we
high
didn't
school?
come back in person until like the very, very end, last month of my senior year.
So your high school started an esports team while COVID was happening?
They had started their esports program like earlier that year.
Oh, okay.
So like 2019.
So Overwatch was dead when you joined. and
Overwatch
you
was
were
dead
a
when I
junior in
joined.
high school
I was a junior in high school.
when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then senior year of high school.
I still played on the high school team. I was a starter at
But
that
like,
point.
but the game was dead, right?
The game was dead, but to me it was alive and well.
Okay.
Because I was
Yeah.
just coming into it as all new and fresh and fun.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
every hero was new, and every map was new, and
How long did it
It's
take
cool.
you to get good at the game, you would say?
I think it
'Cause
was like 4 or 5 months
4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to like understand all the heroes and all the lingo and what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And then I would say it took about another year to understand, why am I playing this hero here? Who am I countering? What is a meta?
Mhm.
What is
Yeah.
a team composition, a team fight? Like that probably took another year, and we had coaches and stuff who would come in and help.
And then it took another year for Overwatch 2 to come out.
Yeah, yes.
And now it's basically a reset.
And then another year for it to actually come out.
Yeah.
Because you get the beta.
And so now you have to go through that whole process again.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
so
esports.
then I got into I think I submitted a form through like a Mizzou
Oh,
interest
the
form.
Qualtrics, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like interested in trying out for Premiere. And
Mhm.
then or being on staff. And I tried out, got to like the second round of tryouts, and then I actually got to like a third round of tryouts, and I scrimmed with them. And then their coach was like, "Are you playing on a Smurf account? Because why are you rated 25,000 SR? Because that's like really low." And I was like, "No, this is my main. This is my highest ranked account." And I had literally just placed 25,000 a week before with my friend. I was like, I have to get high because I'm going to try out for this team, and I need to be like the best I can get. And then they instantly were just like, "Is this a joke? Like, are you actually rated that low?" And I was just like, "Oh no." They weren't trying to be mean, but it was just kind of like and they were like, "Okay, probably not gonna pick you." I go, "I totally understand."
Just because you were rated low?
Not just because I was rated low, because I was a player who played like I was rated low.
Oh.
Like I wasn't good.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't good enough to play on their team, and I knew that. Once I got into their scrim, I was like, "What am I doing?" I'm
Yeah.
like way in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, you don't have like the 2 years experience that they all did.
Yeah, well, they all probably, I mean, at that point they would have had like 4 or 5 years of experience in
Mhm.
Overwatch. So
Okay, so freshman year at college,
Mhm.
did it make the team? Did you do management
yeah, I got put straight into managing.
straight into managing?
Yeah.
So you managed the team last year too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started managing Premier last year, and then I found the club team,
Uh-huh.
and I played as a starter for them because they were like a ranked like 3,000 SR team.
Yeah, how was
2,000
playing on the Overwatch club
revenue.
team?
It's great.
Yeah.
I love playing for them.
Dude, the club teams here are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't know what we do, but the people on those teams are so cool. And so fun.
It is the funnest. It's just fun.
There is something about playing competitive casually
Yeah.
that it just hits different.
It
It's
does hit
so
different.
much fun.
It does hit different. Yeah, there's definitely been struggles with the Overwatch club team on finding a balance between fun and competitive.
Mhm.
That is
Yeah.
our number one biggest problem that we
Mhm.
face every single year. We do a survey every pretty much every quarter, asking people how competitive they want to be. And it's
Running the
just-
Overwatch club team like a business.
we really are. I mean, we have this year alone, we've
How are
grown by 100 members in our Discord.
Wow.
About
So the numbers are good this quarter?
yeah, very good this quarter. They're great this quarter because we split up into 2 club teams. We now have 2 full Overwatch club teams. Do you want to talk more about like my journey through being manager?
Yeah, let's appreciate you, Tina.
Okay, thanks.
How when did you start playing video games?
I started playing video games probably when I got first Xbox 360, so like 9 years old.
So, but you were a big video game family, right?
We were, I would say. We weren't like gamer grime. We would do like family games. We had like the Rock Band, and
Okay.
we'd
Love
all
Rock
play
Bands.
Call of Duty together and make all these cool world maps, custom maps in Halo, and like play them all day, every day. On
You played Call of Duty with your mom?
No. With my brother and sister.
Okay.
My mom would come back and be like, "Can you guys stop talking? Please? It's talking so loud. It's like it's late."
You're like, Mom, look at this new map I made.
Yeah, look at this new map.
She's like, come eat dinner.
Yeah. No, we ate a lot of like beef ramen noodle packets in the day. Not, you know the. Have you ever eaten ramen dry? Like you just crunch it up.
No.
Eat it like chips.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no, it's crunchy.
You
This
guys
is like
do that?
this is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can say it's a
What?
thing because they did it in Squid Game, and that was the first time I'd ever seen a show that was supposed to be
Oh, they
depicting
did.
Asian culture, like, and
Yeah.
they did it. So I'm like, it's a thing. It's don't hate on it.
Do you put the packet on?
Yeah, you put the seasoning packet,
Mhm.
you like crunch it up, put the seasoning packet in, shake it, and then just like eat it like chips or like popcorn, I guess.
I will never do that.
Try it. It's good.
Honestly, if you're desperate, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
It's
It's not a meal.
I'm not that
It's a
desperate.
snack.
Yeah.
At that point, it's just a snack.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that a lot as a kid, and then started playing Overwatch just in 2020. And that's
Well, what about like high school? Like, what'd you do during high school? Was it always just you and your?
I never gamed in high school.
You
until
never gamed
COVID.
in high school.
No,
That is so
Never.
crazy to me that it just seems so random
it
that you were like,
is.
COVID's here, time to play Overwatch. Like, it's so
I know.
random
I don't
to
really
me.
know why I like picked Overwatch. I don't.
Out of all the
Because
games,
even in like I didn't know anyone in my esports team at Hickman. I don't even really know why I like looked into the group. I wasn't friends with anybody there. They were all like 3 years younger than me. Like
I don't know. Maybe you
I
were
didn't know any of them.
attracted for some reason.
I have no idea why.
So when you were in high school, you
Mhm.
did not play video games.
No,
What did you do?
I did a lot of graphic design. So
cool.
I would work. I did like digital media graphic design courses through Columbia Area Career Center, and that just gives students an opportunity to do kind of like tradesman crafts more than what you do as a traditional job, and it gives them opportunities to actually do that and interact with that and get clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was a district graphic designer for 2 years, junior and senior year, which is where I worked with all of the high schools and like made stuff for all of them.
And now, in addition to managing the Overwatch team, you also do a lot of graphic design for the social media team.
I do. Yeah, that was kind of cool to get into that this year. And it was another thing where like I wasn't really looking for it. It just
Yeah.
kind of happened.
Mhm.
And then I just kind of right place, right time,
Uh-huh.
right people pushing me to do it. And it just kind of worked out. And I'm like, hey, this is what I did for like 4 years in high school.
Yeah.
Sure, I can do this.
It's convenient, really.
Mhm.
And now you're a social media intern too.
Mhm.
So it's like you've doubled the responsibility almost.
Yeah.
In addition to schoolwork too.
In addition to schoolwork, and then over the summer, I also managed a tier 2 team, which is like a semi-professional league for Overwatch
hmm
that was not affiliated with Mizzou at all. Their name was Bear Claw, and they're like they work with kids that are like ages 14 to 16 who are just like prodigies
Oh,
for the most part, and like
Interesting.
cool.
they pick them out and figure out who's good, and they send the good ones on, and
16-year-olds are playing Overwatch.
yeah, 14 to 16.
It's so interesting to me how people will actually get recruited to schools because of how good they are at games like Overwatch. Like people will get scholarships.
What's crazy to me is that these 14 to 16-year-old kids, like some of them are just becoming freshmen in high school
I
or something
know.
like that,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they're
Mhm.
doing school online, and they never leave their house, and they scrim for 8 to 10 hours a day,
Yep.
and it is wild to me. And then they have a tournament in Chicago, and some random dude they're talking to on the internet is their coach, and they're like, "Mom, Dad, can you drive me to the airport? I got to get on a plane and fly
Yeah.
to Chicago by myself." And I'm like,
I mean, you talk
What?
about that in the West, and you go over to the East, and it is just like on an insane scale.
Yeah.
Like one of the league players, Jay, right, flew straight from Korea. You know, I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, "Does he like go home on the weekends?" And I'm like, "Mom,
No,
his
no.
family's in Korea.
He does
Like,
not go home
like
on the
he
weekend.
gets to see his mom on Christmas break
Yeah,
in
that's
4
it.
months,
Yeah.
and she's just like looking at me in awe.
Yeah.
Like, oh my!
I think it's
God.
just it's a different culture. It's a different vibe. It's just
Yeah,
It's just
so
different.
about the school thing, I was talking to Lyd about it because she's writing a spotlight on Jay.
Mhm.
And in the spotlight, she talks about how, like, so Jay was very good at League when he was like 15 years old or like 14 years old. I'm not really sure. And he applied to the Genji Esports Academy and he got in. And at the beginning, the Genji Esports Academy said, okay, we can either train you to go to our school to become a pro, and that is your school. Like, you will just be a pro.
Mhm.
Or we can train you to half be a pro and half school. And that's the one that he chose, right? So he said that like 4 hours a day he does school, and then 4 hour days he scrimps League. And that's his school day.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that?
It's wild.
Yeah.
It is actually insane.
I know, it is.
These
It
kids-
really is.
And I mean, the thing with like these first-person shooters, it's all based on reaction time. It's like dependent on how good you're going to be, how quick you can think, and even just visualize what's going to happen. If you can see someone's telegraphing some ultimate, or that they're gonna go somewhere, and you've played the game so many hours, you just inherently know they're gonna do this thing. That's where you see like pros come into play.
Yeah.
But it's gotta be your whole life, and by the time you're 2021, your brain starts to slow down and you're done.
Yeah. No, that's
Like,
interesting.
And then
It
you've
is really
not
sad.
done high school or college.
I think, yeah, no, you're definitely right. However, I mean, there are exceptions, right?
There's
Like,
exceptions, of course.
it's actually like pretty common now in at least League that pro players are like hitting the 30 mark. Like
Yeah.
Impact won Worlds when he was 17 years old. He's 29 now, or I think he's 27 now. And he's just hasn't stopped playing ever since, and he's still like one of the best players in the league. You think of like Faker too, right? He's just been the best forever, and he's like getting old now, but he's not going to stop playing anytime soon, or at least we don't think he is.
Well, that's the thing with experience versus, I guess, pure reaction time. When you have that much experience, you'll know a lot about, first of all, what other people are going to do, their strategies, but also like what makes you successful. Like, I think about Smash Bros, since that's like my esport kind of. Hungrybox is like the best player in Super Smash Bros Melee, and he's old. He's like 35 or something like that. But he's been the best Melee player, one of the best Melee players for, I don't know, 15 years now. And the other best Melee player is a guy named Mango, who's also like 35. And they're two of the gods of Melee, they call them. And it really is just experience. And maybe Smash Bros isn't a game that's so much based on reaction time. Like, I have horrible reaction time, and I can play Smash Bros, but I cannot play any shooters. I'm just that bad at reaction time. So I guess that's sort of different, but it is interesting. It's sort of, that same thing's true in like professional sports as well, where like in basketball or football, like the cutoff, like the average player is like 24 when they retire in both sports. While in
There's Tom
baseball,
Brady.
they're like 28 when they retire on average, or even older.
They retire.
Yeah, because, well, a lot of players will get called up to the majors or will be drafted and put into games. Like, when you get drafted in football or basketball, you'll be like 20 or 21. While in baseball, when you make your major league debut, you'll be like 24. And baseball players hang around a lot longer because baseball is much more of like a mental game. It's a lot more about knowing the strike zone, not swinging at pitches outside the strike zone. While for basketball, it's mental, or football, it's mental, but
It's very physical.
it's more physical.
Yeah.
And it does have a lot more to do with reaction time in a lot of ways. So
That's one interesting thing to bring up is whenever I was working on making Club an official organization of Mizzou earlier this year, filling out all the paperwork and forms, one of the sections is like any type of physical risk that could be involved in your org. And I'm just kind of sitting there and I'm like, I don't know, maybe like carpal tunnel.
yeah.
Could potentially be one.
Yeah.
But I wrote down mental health because that is
Yeah.
like the biggest, I would say. I know it's a mental health, but it's a physical risk potentially.
No, yeah.
That is something that I feel like is not talked about a whole bunch, but it's just assumed that like all gamers are a little bit mentally unwell. And I'm like, it'd be great if we had some more support so that wasn't always the case, and that we could get better and make like a better environment. And I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
Mizzou,
I can
but
only imagine when you're grinding away at a game for, like 4 hours a day at least,
mhm.
every single day. I can only imagine like how mentally taxing that
And when
is.
it is, and when just like you were saying, like some other sports is more physical, this isn't something that you can. I mean, you can play the game, putting more hours into the game, you will get better at it.
Yeah.
But there's kind of a mental limit on how quickly you can think that you are just limited by, and there's kind of nothing you can do about it
Yeah.
at a certain point. And it's so frustrating to know, like, I kind of am capped. I'm being like skill locked. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. There's definitely like you could really only because like you play a game, and if you're trying to get really good, you want to get like the most out of every like competitive match you play, right? You want to learn, improve. But you can only do that like so much
Yeah.
because if you're trying so hard and putting so much effort in, there's also the backlash of, wow, I'm putting all my effort in, I'm trying so hard, and it's so draining, right? Like I'm not getting anything back. You start to get stressed out. You start to get angry, right, when you
Someone
start
will be
losing
better.
games.
Someone's better always.
Yep.
Yeah.
than you.
And it's just really draining.
It's like how, I mean, you can practice as much as you want in swimming, but Michael Phelps is going to beat you. I don't care what your technique is. I don't care who your coach is. Michael
Yeah.
Phelps' body is built to swim. So
Yeah,
it's just
no,
like he has a
exactly.
physical advantage.
Some people have, better reaction times than others.
Yeah,
It's the same
just
thing. Like
better
I
reaction.
am just not naturally like
Joey, your hands were made to play Super Smash Bros.
they were not made to play Overwatch. They were not. My friends will tell you whenever I try to play a shooter, I cannot. I am just because I'm a pacifist, of course. It has nothing to do with my
I
reaction
stand for
time,
peace.
really. Yeah, no, I actually don't believe in violence. I think it's wrong, and I think war is bad.
I mean, what are you doing in Super Smash Bros? You're punting people off the cliff.
It's called a KO. It's not called dying. It's called a knockout. Okay.
Okay.
Anyways, so yeah, it's interesting because some people really are just like more gifted, and I guess that's why people like scout players. But it's so interesting to me that you can do that in esports, where you can literally scout out a middle schooler and have them be like, you are a prodigy in Overwatch, when it's such a fluid game. It's always changing. So I don't know, like if one kid is a prodigy in Overwatch, they may not be a prodigy in Overwatch 2, because despite people, as to bring it back a little, people saying that it's the same game, blah blah blah, but when you're somebody who is literally being scouted out for a game, and there is big of differences as there are in Overwatch 2, that can really be life-changing in some aspect, which is why I find esports so interesting, because they are so fluid most of the time. Valorant always gets updates, League always gets updates, Overwatch always gets updates, and Overwatch 2 will as well. You hear about people getting scouted in high school for like basketball. You don't hear that for Overwatch, but it's a very real thing. And I kind of, it's amazing because my roommate freshman year was a person who got scouted to play Overwatch at Mizzou. And when I asked him about it, he was just like, yeah, I don't know. I put a lot of hours into it, and people took interest, and I would just like, wow, that was insane to me, because it's not like when you're playing a video game, you're like, you're getting like stronger physically. It's not like you're in the weight room to push buttons faster.
Your hands are getting faster.
It really is just reaction time and experience for getting really good at video games. Of course, there's a limit, and that limit is yourself naturally, but I find it interesting.
I mean, it is kind of the same. Like you practice and you get better, right?
Yeah. You get
that goes
coaching,
for
you
any
get
sport.
better.
Yeah, that's true.
You VOD, you get better. You have someone.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to put in the time. You got to put in like I mean, it's one thing to put in the time, but it's another thing to like use that time really well. You know? Some players are really good at it. Some players are really bad at it, right?
Yeah.
But you do have to just make the most of your time, and I think that because, like you said, like there's a cap, right?
Yeah.
And like let's call it 5 hours a day. You best be getting the best out of those 5 hours, because someone is, right?
But you mentioned like scouting.
Yeah.
I have a funny story about scouting. Back in high school, I was the only girl on the Hickman team, and I think there might have been one other girl on like one of the other teams. Never met her, never met in person, so didn't get the chance to meet her. But we were playing in a match, and you know how there's is it just called like like scouters that like,
Yeah,
go to a football game and sit and like write down notes or use little binoculars and like look at number 28 or whatever.
Yeah, like the scouting department,
Yeah,
stuff
scouting
like that.
department.
Yeah.
So colleges are starting to get like scouting departments for their esports programs, and
Mm-hmm.
this one happened to be with Stevens College, which was a women's college for the longest time. I'm not sure if they're like strictly just a women's college now.
I don't think they are anymore.
I don't think they are, but they still like have a heavy focus on having women's teams for a lot of their sports.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is their esports team was like, at least at the time, they're focusing on making like a women's only Overwatch team. So they came to one of our streamed games and watched, and it was just so strange to be being watched, not because you're good, because I knew I was bad. I'd only been playing the game for 4 months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're fulfill a diversity quota.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is weird.
And it felt very strange. And there was a girl, like I was the only girl on our team, and then there was a girl on our opponent or enemy team. And the entire stream, whoever was streaming it wasn't one of our groups, only watched from my or her POV.
Oh, really?
That is weird.
And we were both, I think I was playing like Ana and she was playing Mercy. It's like the most kind of boring gameplay that you could probably watch of an esports game.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they were like, we would like to give you full rides. And I'm like, we didn't pop off. We didn't like do anything. And I looked up their teams. They didn't won a single game in 3 years. But I was just like, that felt really odd.
That is really odd. Are there like women leagues for Overwatch?
I don't know if there's women leagues. I know that there are kind of like people will make tournaments for, I don't know if they've ever made a tournament for women specifically, but I have seen ones for like LGBTQ women.
Yeah, I've seen like mixed leagues.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those, but I don't think I've seen one that's like just women before. But I'm sure there is.
So let's talk about that. How did that so how was it growing up? Like I guess not playing video games, but at least like in senior year of high school, how was it playing video games like as a girl? Was it like, were your friends that got you into the game, were they all boys? Were they all guys?
Yeah, all the friends that I had that got me into the game were guys, but I like met girls through their guy friends and stuff.
That also played Overwatch?
That also played Overwatch. Not
Okay.
a ton, but I was just like I have like from that original group was like one girl that I knew that like played. And then through Hickman there was like one other girl that kind of came in and out and played. But there's never been like a consistent group of girls until at Mizzou.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is.
There's
I
like
mean, if we
decent.
include the media team, we have a lot.
There's a decent amount of girls. I would like to see more girls actually on the teams. Because I think
Yeah, 'cause-
Overwatch is the only one that has...
Yeah, there's no other girls on the teams.
Yeah, I think Overwatch is the only one that has girls on the team, and we have 2 on the team as starters.
Yeah, no one else has that, which is interesting. I guess, like, why Overwatch? You know,
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I don't really know. Hey, maybe we're like the least toxic. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, definitely less toxic than League. Because League is the most toxic. I don't really know too much about the Valorant culture, but it's a Riot game, so it's bound to be a little toxic.
Yeah, I remember just like playing Overwatch in competitive and stuff. There's like voice chat that you can get into voice and talk to random people. I am blessed to have a bit of a deeper voice. Not as deep as like a guy, but guys won't be like
ooh wooing on you.
Like they're not like ooh wooey about me, and I'm like very happy. I'm very happy.
Did you not get any of that?
Not really.
That's good at least, because
really.
in League and Valorant you just get it's.
I think I've
nonstop.
had that.
Sure.
I think I've had that maybe twice, but I remember playing Valorant once, and they like I had a guy do that like right off the bat.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Just
And
your,
I was just
your
like,
first Valorant game.
It was like maybe like my 3rd or something, but yeah, it was like right off the bat, and I never had experienced that in Overwatch.
Really? That's really interesting.
I play Lucio, which is a little bit of a break from the normal
Yeah,
women's
definitely.
role. Most women are kind of
Lucio's a fun hero.
Lucio's fun, but most women are like put onto Mercy because
What's the best one, right? Or is it the best support?
No, I wouldn't say she's the best support.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say she's the best support. I would say she's the like
Easiest.
easiest.
Yeah.
Because you don't really like do anything. You just support a DPS player to like do something.
Yeah,
So you don't really have to
it's not very
think.
hard.
You don't have to think very much.
That is it is to backtrack even more. It is really weird that you got scouted because you were a girl, right?
Yeah.
Like to get a full ride.
That's
It
super
was-
weird.
It was very weird.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
felt
but you
weird.
didn't take the full ride.
No, it felt gross.
It felt gross,
It felt gross.
Yeah.
And they weren't a good team. And so I was like,
but the money.
I
I'm happy that the full ride it's obviously a lot of money, but I mean, obviously we're happy you're here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It is definitely gross. It definitely feels like
It felt
pretty
gross.
scummy, I guess, to
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah. I was
I-
just like, I don't really want to do that.
I mean, I don't know. Would you say that it's scummy though for like if another girl took that,
I wouldn't say it would be.
like for her to take it, you know?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, because my hope would be that they would be a little bit more judicious, I mean, with who they're picking,
Mm-hmm.
and that they're actually picking girls that are good at the game and like
Yeah.
are going to make their team better.
Yeah, not just local.
Yeah, not just because you're a girl that happens to live in Colombia and
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
plays the game. That would be my hope that
Yeah.
they're doing that.
Yeah,
But
but it didn't really seem like that.
it didn't seem like that.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just were picking anyone who was a girl
Mm-hmm.
to join them. Yeah, through Mizzou Esports. Not sure how walking into it, how it was going to be, what the culture was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely been a fair share of like kind of weird interactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scummy.
Kind of scummy
Yeah.
interactions.
Like
There's-
at Mizzou Esports or just
At
like
Mizzou Esports.
yeah. No, I mean you're gonna get it anywhere.
You're going to
but-
get it anywhere. It's not Mizzou
It-
Esports' fault. It's just like society and
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of dudes and who have been living in their parents' basement for
It's
playing
gonna
video
be
games for
weird.
6 years
Yeah.
and like haven't interacted with a girl, and you're
Yeah.
going to get some weird
Yeah.
interactions.
Yeah, you are.
I just don't stand for it. Like I don't know.
Oh
I-
no,
like, at
no,
all.
nobody does. Like,
Like-
it's terrible.
It's terrible. I don't feel like there's any type of like ganging up or like support for that type of behavior, but it definitely still exists, and it's
Yeah.
like
I mean, I would say there's even ganging up on like the male side of things, right? Like against the girl gamers, you know?
yeah.
Maybe not so much at Mizzou Esports, but definitely like online for sure.
Online for sure.
Yeah. No
I-
doubt about that.
I have several friends online that are girls and who are playing at a bit of a higher level, and there's a lot more of, oh, you're a girl playing. If there's a female streamer like Aspen or Aramori who typically play on their own, if they ever play with their boyfriend,
Yeah.
Oh,
they
no.
will be like,
Yeah.
people will rip them apart.
Yeah, it's. I talked to my friend about this, and he put it in a really nice way. We were talking about Gamergate. The male or like boy culture, especially growing up, was very like exclusive,
Mhm.
right? It was very like edgy in a way. It was like, this is like my time. Like the world sucks. This is my time to play with my boys, right? Like I'm a boy, you know, like just playing video games in my parents' basement. And then a girl comes in and they get very like defensive of of what they think is their own personal comfort zone, you know,
Yeah.
that they deserve, you know.
It's so stupid.
It
It's
is really
really
stupid, I know. But like the root of it, I really think comes from that, is that the boys are just kind of, I guess I don't want to say insecure, but like they kind of are in a way.
Insecure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And just very like exclusive with their zone, you know. They're afraid to
Yeah.
open up or anything.
Yeah, and you see, like, I mentioned how a lot of girls are kind of put onto Mercy because she's, like, an easier hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is the guys aren't including them from a younger age.
Yeah.
So if you're like me and you didn't get into video games until you're a junior in high school, these guys have been playing video games religiously since they were in 8th grade, 7th grade.
Mhm.
And so you're going to be behind the curve. And in order to keep up, you got to play like an easier hero to start with. But like, why are we kept there? Why are we just expected to like never do better or learn or like,
Yeah.
and why aren't we included from a younger age too? Because if we were, then we could be on par with the guys. We need to see more girls on DPS or tank or other roles that have more impact in the game.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's definitely like a society problem.
Mhm.
That, I mean, at least for us growing up, I think it's a little different now. But for us growing up, it was very like girls. It just wasn't the norm, I guess.
It's
Like
just
for
not the
girls to
norm.
play video games growing up. But for guys, it was like very, very the norm, right? It was
Yeah.
like, you know, we're playing Fortnite or Call of Duty. You know, everybody's gonna
Yeah.
buy the new
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Call
and
of
play
Duty,
it together.
especially. For sure.
But like girls didn't play Call of Duty. Like that would be just the weirdest thing in the world, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I didn't really have any girlfriends at first.
Yeah, I mean,
Completely
I don't know. I think that's another like root of the problem per se.
Yeah, and I love having these kinds of conversations, and I think these kinds of conversations in this environment are really beneficial and useful. Sometimes this conversation happens a little too often in casual situations.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, where you don't want to.
Where I'm like, I don't want to talk about this every time.
Yeah, because it's like, oh yeah, like I'm a girl. Of course, you're gonna bring it up.
Of course, you're gonna bring it up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I, like even leadership within esports, you'll be at some big media event, and there's usually always this kind of like moment of silence, almost with weirdness of like, let's appreciate all the women in this room that are here with us today. And it's just kind of like, if you did that with any other minority group, you couldn't. You shouldn't. Mm-hmm. You should appreciate that they're there, but that should just be shown throughout every day of work.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to just say it.
You shouldn't have to be like, let's take a moment and be based. And literally.
That was...
I mean, I literally did it earlier on the podcast. I was like, let's appreciate Tina.
yeah, literally.
Which now I feel horrible.
No, but what I'm saying is like, in this environment, it's important and it's valid to talk about it here. Uh-huh. It's just whenever I'm at every single event, it gets kind of brought up or like put on the spotlight or it just feels a little...
It was a very real fear that I had personally coming into this podcast because I did want to talk about, the sort of issues you face as a girl, but I didn't want to, because, everybody talks about that. It's such a prevalent issue in our culture. I didn't want to just talk about it again, but I do think you gave a lot of great insight, Tina, and I really, really do appreciate you having you on the podcast. And I think that will do it for this episode of the Respawn podcast. Thank you very much, Tina, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Tina.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody listening has a great rest of their day.